Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Geeked Out. I'm Kyle,
I'm Juan.
and this week in honor of it being now December and the holiday season being upon us, we have decided to do another top five episode. It was a pretty good response on the last top five episode we did, so we decided to do another one, and this time we're doing our top five Christmas movies, and of course, we're both going to have some honorable mentions thrown in there. I've got quite a few. I'm not going to read all of them. I won't waste everybody's time with all the ones that I have, but I'll just pop off a few of them. Um, as I had said to Juan off mic, um, I've got some of my honorable mentions are like the holiday specials that you would see on TV. I don't consider those movies, so I didn't feel like adding them on the list. Things like the Rudolphs, the Frosties, the Charlie Brown Christmas, things like that. You don't have any of those on yours, do you? Cut you off if
No,
you do.
no, I don't. I get why you would put it as an honorable mention, though. They are. It's one of those things that there's movies that are on my list that, for me, doesn't feel like Christmas until I watch those movies. That's
Yeah,
how I feel about most of those Christmas specials. I have to at least watch one, if not the majority of them, every year.
yeah, because especially like because of those, because we watched them growing up. There's such nostalgia to it, and I mean that's a big thing because a lot of what people associate with Christmas, a lot of it is memories from your childhood, and I'm sure both of us, a lot of memories from our childhood include a lot of those Christmas or a few of those Christmas specials type thing. Like, there's not a year that I can remember where I haven't watched Rudolph, Frosty. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
even as I mean, and I prefer them much more now as an adult because, like I had said to you before, that claymation when I was a little kid was almost not scary, but just off putting because it was unlike anything I had ever seen. And it was kind of like, what is on this screen right now? But now I watch them, especially with my daughter, and it's like she loves them, and then I just get a big thrill out of watching her enjoyment with it, and it's kind of come full circle, and that's something that I really like about those. But so what do you want? Did you want to start, or do you want me to start? We'll maybe name off a few honorable mentions as we go.
We could just leave honorable mentions
You want
like
them
last, I
Okay, we can do
guess.
those at the end. That works.
Uh, I'll go, I guess.
All right.
Let's pull up my fifth one here. So the majority of my list consists of, I would say, traditional Christmas movies, but my fifth one is a non-traditional one, I guess. I would consider it, even though the themes around it are very much tied to Christmas. This one isn't really, or at least the people that I know don't really, I guess, talk about it as a Christmas movie. But my number five is Gremlins.
Okay, right on. Yeah, I absolutely view that as a Christmas movie.
It is, because Gizmo, the Gremlin, is literally a Christmas gift, and all the hijinks that come of it said Christmas gift. So yeah, I definitely consider it. I put it in the non-traditional only because you're not really thinking of the Christmas part of it as you're watching it. You're just watching all the antics of these gremlins and the chaos that they create.
Yeah, because like you say, Gizmo is a Christmas gift, and but once his dad, I forget the main character's name off the top of my head. Once his dad gives him Gizmo as the gift, it's kind of everything happens after Christmas. So whereas a typical Christmas movie, like you say, this is non-traditional. A traditional one typically ends on Christmas or like Christmas night type thing, whereas this one kind of begins that way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But no, I definitely that was on my honorable mention list, and I definitely consider that a Christmas movie, and I think most people do. At least I think they do. I could be wrong, but
It's like if you type in Christmas movies, it's there.
yeah, it would have to be. I mean, I've watched that movie many times, and it always does seem to be at Christmas. It has that, again, like you say, it's not Christmas until you see it, and
Yeah. Till you realize, as a kid, you're not looking at it like that until you realize the whole reason why Gizmo's there is because of
he was a gift,
Christmas.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean,
So,
how many
yeah.
are
What?
who out of all of us didn't want a Mogwai as a gift when we were kids? I mean, those things are. If those things were real, they'd be the most popular pet on the planet. They're the cutest little fucking things.
Basically a Furby, which makes sense why Furbies were all the rage, because they're basically the same damn thing. Um, yeah, it's still considered one of the more iconic, cute creature monsters in cinema. Um, yeah, I love this movie. There's like so many different ways.
Yeah,
Um,
it's just so much
for one,
fun.
yeah, well, I like the fact that to me it's a movie at a time you're not going to see again, where it's all practical. Even though it doesn't hold up as much as well, it you still don't look at it and like are completely taken out of the effects that are being shown. So I I like practical effects. I think that's such a
They're
dying thing.
yeah, they're I much prefer if as I'm a big fan of listening to other podcasts as well, and it seems to be a notion that rings out over across all of them is practical effects is the way to go. It's so much better when you have light hitting an actual object as opposed to rendered in a computer and yeah, the way
Well,
that those are done, even though it was in the 80s and it's the practical effects, it still looks good. Like even nowadays, I think.
I think the ones that are timeless, the ones that are still hold up, are the movies that blend the two together. I think that's where you get effects where it should be is when you're getting practical, but it you add the CG just to spruce it up to make it a little bit more bombastic if it needs to be,
Yeah,
depending on what's happening. And it when it's added to practical, I think that's where it shines. And that's how I would like to see most movies with that blend, but you know, one can only hope.
yeah. I mean, I don't think we're gonna be getting too many movies with a ton of practical effects nowadays. I mean, you get them here and there, but for the most part, everything is done with CGI, which is, I mean, we could go on this topic forever, but it's just unfortunate, and because you don't get like you say with a movie like this, you get those little puppets, the little animatronic things. There's so much detail in them that I feel like a lot of the CGI artists they'll work to try and get them there, but it'll never. I don't think it'll ever look the same or as good. I prefer practical 100% over CGI where it's possible. I mean, obviously, a lot of the movies nowadays that use effects are sci-fi and things like that, fantasy movies where things that they're depicting don't actually exist and or they're so large that to make something that size would be counterproductive to what they're doing. So I get why they use the CGI, but with a movie like this, they're so the Mogwais and then eventually the Gremlins are so tiny that the little figurines, the little um, doll is the wrong word. Sculptures or things they use, they look fantastic, and they're just so detail oriented.
Yeah, yeah. It was definitely. I was glad that this movie came out then,
Yeah, and it was
and
a fun
I
one to
don't
grow
think.
up with.
Yeah. It's also it's one of those movies. It has such an '80s feel, and like it has a good balance of like that '80s horror with the action and like some comedy. It was really well balanced. Um, especially with like, the looks of the clones of Gizmo and how terrifying they were, but like a lot of the things that they were doing were comedic because, they're fish out of water. They're trying to figure out how the world works, and
Yeah,
doing so it's funny. But
and I mean,
they look goddamn terrifying.
oh yeah, there. If I saw one of those, I'd be trying to kick it or smack it or get rid of it somehow because those things, yeah, they're small, but they're pretty. They'd be
Yeah.
something to see. And I mean, again, it's got. I think another thing that helps with that movie is, I mean, obviously it's a great movie, but everybody, and I'm sure there are some who don't, but the majority of people our age, if you go up to them and you say, "What can you never do with a gremlin?" They're gonna know the rules because it's
They're
just
gonna at
something.
least know one, if not two rules.
Exactly, because
So he's
it's
got like
something.
3 or 4 rules or some shit like that.
Yeah, it's something we all grew up with, and again, a lot of us view it as a Christmas movie, and if that's the case, you watch it every year. So it's one of those things that just becomes iconic and just ingrained in your memory without you even thinking about it.
Yeah. It's just one of those stable movies. If you are an 80s, 90s kid, you've definitely watched this movie. Or at the very least, understand all the references and things that they reference in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so for my number five, this is actually a very new movie. It only came out last year.
Oh,
Um,
jeez. I already know what it is.
well, I watched it last year, and I'll preface this. It's a musical, and I'm a big fan of a lot of musicals, but
Boo!
it's Spirited with
I like Spirit.
Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, along with Octavia Spencer. Um, I think this is a fantastic movie. For those of you who haven't seen it, it is a modernized telling of a Christmas Carol type story. The main character is not Ebenezer Scrooge, but he is somebody who puts himself above others, things like that. And shocker, that's played by Ryan Reynolds.
Is it
No,
Scrooge?
I'm kidding. I love Ryan Reynolds. I like to joke that he's Canada's favorite son.
He's I the thing about Ryan Reynolds is that that's what you get with every role now. You get Ryan goddamn Reynolds, which okay, it works, and a lot of the things that he's been doing recently. Uh, I
But I don't see how that's a
don't
detriment.
hate Ryan Reynolds. I'm not a hater. I do like him. I love him as Deadpool. I think that's he was born to play that character.
But here,
I would like a little bit of variety with his with acting. He's just one of those actors where you pay for Ryan Reynolds and you get Ryan Reynolds with every role that he's in.
I mean, I think there's a lot of
Not a
actors in
bad thing.
Hollywood.
Not a bad
No,
thing.
no, not at all. There's a lot of actors in Hollywood that they seem to just play themselves in every movie. The ones for me that always come to mind is George Clooney is one who, if every movie that he's in, he just seems like he's playing Danny Ocean, regardless of what the movie's about, or it's just Danny Ocean.
Because
And
he's too handsome and smooth and suave to be anything else.
I feel another one that does that, and and
It's unfortunate. He's so handsome.
not so much with his earlier stuff, but I think over the last few movies that I've seen him in was and I love him. He's a fantastic actor, but I think a lot of times Denzel Washington plays Denzel Washington.
See, I will
His
give you that up until maybe the last 10, 15 years, but like his stuff in the 80s or
oh yeah,
like
that's what I mean.
late 80s, the early
Before that was
90s,
fantastic.
he definitely could blend in and become a different role where he, you don't really see the actor, you see you don't, yeah, you see the character, you don't see the actor. But
Yeah,
yeah, now it's just he's been the same type since I would say American Gangster or uh, Training Day, I guess, in a way.
yeah, and I mean, like I say, it's not a bad thing. They're both George Clooney and Denzel are both fantastic actors. It's just though the two of them, it's more as they get older, they do this. Whereas Ryan Reynolds is much younger, and he's already at that point where,
I think with both of those actors, I think it's hard to turn it off, like turn off that charm, turn off that it factor that got them to the status that they are. I think it's almost impossible for them to turn it off.
yeah, that makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like unlike a fucking Gary Oldman that literally could disappear into a role. You won't even know. There's roles Gary Oldman's done that I don't even. It still surprises me that he played certain character because I just didn't know.
oh, absolutely. He's one of those. Gary Oldman, I've always looked at him as like he's a character actor, but he can do it in a leading role.
He's
Whereas a
top
lot
three.
of
He's top three character actors, I think,
absolutely
all time.
him and Daniel Day Lewis are right up there because again, a lot of times when you think of character actor, it's someone who plays a bit role in a movie, whereas they can do that character actor bit role as a lead, which is a very different thing to do.
Mhm.
But back to this movie. I personally thought it was really good. I loved it, and I will be watching it every year at Christmas from now on.
I liked it. It
I liked the music. I thought the music was really good. Again, I'm a sucker for musicals.
The
I
songs didn't annoy me, so that that tells you something. I'm not really the biggest fan of musicals. There's a few that that sneak by me that that I accept. This is definitely the most recent of that list. Um, yeah, man, it's super charming. It's hard. You Even if you're not a fan at all of musicals, it's hard not to, at the very least, enjoy watching this movie.
yeah, and then like I say, and it's funny. You get these two guys. You get Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds playing off one another. It's funny.
Hmm.
It's a good watch, and you get the added little shot every once in a while of Tracy Morgan. Well, his voice. Um, he plays the ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, and
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, yeah.
I'm not a huge Tracy Morgan fan, but I really enjoy him in this film. Um, not that there's a ton for him to do, but and again, it's a voice acting role, but I do enjoy his portrayal in the movie. But yeah, it's something that I would recommend to pretty much everybody. Give it a chance. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know what it was going to be when I watched it last year. I had no idea what it was. I just kind of thought, oh, this sounds interesting. It's Ryan Reynolds, it's Will Ferrell, and then I turned it on and I said, this is. I didn't know it was a musical, and all of a sudden they start singing within the first couple of minutes, and I'm like, all right, I'm here for it. Like, you know what? These
Yeah, I
songs
think it.
they're catchy, they're fun. It's a good time.
Yeah, it's a very charming Christmas movie. Probably one of the most charming ones to come out in the last 5, 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't seem to make new Christmas movies anymore, unless like except for
No,
like the typical
you want to backtrack that?
except for the Hallmark.
Yeah,
But
they
like when we
pumped
were
those
kids,
motherfuckers out.
well, when we were kids, you had like Jingle All the Way came out and the Santa Claus and Jack Frost and all those movies. But now with well-known actors, nowadays it doesn't happen like that. That I can't think of any, like maybe two
It's
or
hard. I
three
mean,
over the
it's hard to
past.
come up with an original Christmas idea that hasn't been done to death, I guess.
Yeah,
You'd have to have an original concept, which the ones that we have been getting are like Screw. I mean, sorry.
I was gonna say Scrooge is
That's
not
one of my
new.
honorable mentions, actually. No, but what's it called? Spirited.
Yeah,
It takes a story that we kind of know and kind of rejuvenate it and made it fresh in a way.
yeah, it absolutely did, and that's part of what I enjoy about it.
No, it's a thoroughly enjoyable movie. Even if you do not like musicals, you'll definitely at least
Well, yeah,
enjoy the
I think
story.
you'll at least enjoy the comedy. I mean, if you don't like the music, the comedy is there. Um,
Yeah.
it's hard to
I
go
mean,
wrong. It's hard
yeah.
to go wrong with those two guys, especially putting them together.
I only do not recommend it if you are both not a fan of Will Ferrell or Ryan
Ryan Reynolds,
Reynolds,
yes.
because you get both of their shtick, the things that they are known to do in these movies, and it works.
Yeah, and I feel like I didn't talk about Will Ferrell enough. He's fantastic in this movie as well,
Well,
and
he's Will Ferrell, like he usually knocks it out of the park.
I like that he's not necessarily transitioning, but over the past not past few years, I guess he's not just playing like the idiotic comedic where, like, especially in this movie, he's funny, but he also, his character has real heart to him,
Yeah,
which
he's getting older, so like that whole
was a lot more emotional
giant
performance.
baby. Yeah. No. He's definitely starting to give more emotional performances, especially as he's getting older. But
And I
yeah, he still
appreciate
has.
that.
I do. I mean, I wish he had that a little bit more earlier in his career, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to, what's your number 4 movie?
Well, my number four is one of my favorite Christmas movies growing up as a kid. Um, I have it as one of the movies I have to watch during Christmas. Doesn't feel like Christmas if I don't watch it. And that is the Santa Claus.
Well, it's funny because that's also my number 4.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's good. We could just, I guess we can both take that off and talk about it right now.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I've been a big Tim Allen fan ever since Home Improvement. I think that's one of the shows that we watched a lot in my household growing up. Uh, so seeing this movie with Tim Allen in it, I definitely instantly latched onto it. I like the concept of it. The fact that Tim Allen accidentally kills Santa Claus and he takes up the mantle.
Yeah.
Uh, I thought that was kind of cool as a kid. Um,
Yeah,
I like. Sorry, go ahead.
leave it to Disney where murder becomes something fun.
Right? He fucking fell hard too. He must have fell around his neck. She was crazy. But yeah, I like kind of like the whole how they handle Santa and the whole world that they set up with Santa, like the how the elves operate, the North Pole. I I as a kid, I was infatuated. I was just all in of what this movie was giving me, And I do like Tim Allen's performance. I think, he was funny. Um, he played a good Santa when he got the fact that he was, for me, one of my favorite parts is when he's getting bigger and he's turning into Santa, and like just the way he's handling it, he's kind of having a breakdown.
Yeah.
Just the way, it's just his comedic acting really draws me to this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you bring up Home Improvement. Shit. That's a show that we still in my house watch all the time. It's now on Disney Plus. Up until the Christmas season started. It's kind of become our show that we watch in the background, kind of at dinner while we're eating. But yeah, Tim Allen is fantastic in this movie, and it's funny for all of us who grew up with this. I would be willing to bet that 90% of people that are around our age, if you ask them to what Santa Claus looks like or draw a picture of Santa, or the first image that comes to mind, I would be willing to bet that, like I say, 90% of people would think of Tim Allen in that movie, because it's just something that, again, is ingrained in our heads because it's what we grew up with. And this was one of the first movies, because this movie came out in, I believe it was 94.
Damn.
So I would have been 8. This is one of the first movies. I'm sure there were ones before this, but this is one of the first movies that I can remember seeing in theaters. And I went with my aunt and uncle, took my little brother and I, and we went and saw this movie, and I instantly just loved it. Like you say, I love the aesthetic. I love the way they set everything up, especially at the North Pole. I mean, they shit on it and throw that stuff and change it all in the second and third movies, but that's beside the point. This movie is, to me, this movie is it's an iconic thing of the Christmas season, and I can't have Christmas without it. My little one has become so obsessed though with this because, like I said, we watch Home Improvement, and it's funny because she just knows that show is Tim. And then I made the mistake one day. I said, "Do you want to see Tim as Santa?" And now every day I say, "Oh, what do you want to watch?" And she goes, "Tim as Santa." So I have already watched this movie probably 15 times, along with the second and third one this holiday season. And
I
it,
like
it
the second one.
I don't mind the second and third one, but obviously, like any kind of franchise, it's not going to live up to the original.
No, yeah, the third one is definitely the worst out of those. I like the second one mostly because of the one scene with the toys, was where
The toy
Tim Allen,
soldiers.
where he's like at like the teacher staff Christmas party, and he's giving them all their.
Oh, the Secret Santa. Yeah, I do
Yeah,
like that because you see all the nostalgic toys.
you see them like light up and turn into kids, which was like
But then again, so would we.
powerful, man.
If we were at a Christmas party and all of a sudden somebody gave me that toss across beanbag tic tac toe or rock'em sock'em robots or something I played with as a kid, like I'd do the same thing.
Fucking hell yeah! If somebody showed up with like, if I had like opened a gift and I had like a freaking, yeah, like for me it was Power Rangers where they transform like the heads,
Or they
or
flip back into the
yeah, or
yeah.
like the freaking or any like, because generation before us had Transformers with cars, but our generation had Transformers with animals. It was
Beast Wars.
Beast. Yeah, I had
Hell
most of
yeah.
Rat Trap.
Cheetah,
But yeah,
Optimus Primal.
but like yeah, that scene in Santa Claus 2, I could freaking I could go on and on about that scene. But yeah, just seeing those adults, because you could tell before the scene they were
They don't want to be there.
They
It's
don't want to
almost
be
like it
there.
almost
They're
looks like
probably
it's a
worried about
mandatory. It
bills and
almost
stuff. But as soon as they saw their toys, they reverted right back to when they were children, when they didn't have a care in the world. And I don't know, man. To me,
and
that
that's
just
what Christmas is.
are
I think that's what Christmas is and what it should be is you get to enjoy that time with your family and you just you can revert back to that and don't worry about the outside world or anything else except for the people that are in that room with you and yeah like you bring up that scene. I always watch anytime I've watched that. There's the one. It reminds me of a toy that I was obsessed with that I had as a kid that I just loved, and I'm pretty sure my parents hated. But it's when the girl gets like almost like an easy bake oven type thing, and as soon as I see it, I'm like, oh, I miss my
creepy
fucking
crawlers.
my creepy crawlers, dude.
Yeah, I always wanted that.
No, I had those, and then of course, like any kid our age who had that, I would make them and just leave them around the house and scare the shit out of my mother. And
Fuck that. I'm eating them bitches. Could you eat them?
they did have ones you could eat, but the majority, the basis of them was just like a gelatin plastic. It was not edible,
Shit. I would
but
have
they
ate them,
did
man. I
they
got
did
sick.
come out with ones that you could basically make your own gummy um, gummy scorpions or
Yeah.
tarantulas or oh
And
yeah,
then
dude,
eat them hoes.
I used to love that. The worst part was you'd pour it, you'd make it all in, you pour it, and then you got to stick it in the little oven thing,
Oh shit.
and it's like, oh,
Remember the
is it done yet? Nope, not yet. But I want to play with the thing, and oh, I used to love it. And every time that
we
scene
had
comes
one,
up,
yeah, there was one where it was like it was Frankenstein and you like fill his brain up with the
yep,
jelly stuff and you could eat the brain. Remember
yep,
that one?
I remember exactly what that was. I
I don't know
don't
what the
remember what it
fuck it
was
was called
called,
though.
but I remember exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. I wanted all that shit.
Yeah. But yeah, back to the Santa Claus. I mean, this is just it's a fantastic movie, and I'm sure that most, if not all, of our listening audience has seen it, and if they haven't seen it, they're at least aware of what it is. But that was kind of the run of Tim Allen becoming the iconic face of Santa Claus for our generation, and I think kind of like the generations to come still, because people our age are now becoming parents and they'll show it to their kids and so on and so forth because you have those magical movies when you're younger and you want to share those with your children, with your family, and yeah, it's a great movie, and he's so
Yeah.
good in it.
And I think they're on the second season of the Disney Plus show.
Yeah, they actually just finished it. I have been watching along. It's okay. It's not great, but it's entertaining. It gets him back into that world, which I'm all for.
Hmm. And it's, at least a younger generation or the newer generation can get their foot in with the Disney Plus series, and it will get them to go back and watch the original.
Yeah. So, you want me to do number three now, or because we have the same one?
I guess it was back to me if we're playing like
Okay, that works.
a game. I guess. Yeah. So my number three, I don't consider it even though it is a Christmas movie. I watch this when it's not Christmas, only because it's a comedy. Um, it's the third of the franchise. The other two have nothing to do with Christmas. Um,
I know exactly
my
what you're
number,
talking about.
my number, yeah, my number three is Friday After Next.
What a great fucking movie.
It's fucking. It's one of the movies where it's fun from as soon as it starts to as soon as it ends.
Barbecue so
It
good,
is
make you want to smack your mama.
nonstop funny. Yeah, barbecue. Yeah, slap your mama. Top flight security. There's so many
Top
quotes,
top flight security of the world, Craig.
right? Or buddy, buddy.
Oh yeah. Dude, it's a great. I mean,
Yeah,
all three of those movies are fantastic in that series. They're so good. They're so funny.
yeah. And the fact that they made the third one Christmas centered is very random, but I appreciate it because it gives me a reason to watch this movie during the Christmas time.
It gives you almost like you're almost forced to watch it, and you and then you're at the same time you're like, yeah, I'm okay with that though. This is the Friday
Oh
After Next is
yeah.
actually one of my honorable mentions as well.
I fucking dude, I'm such a fan of this franchise. One of the highlights of this movie for me is the performance of both Mike Epps and Cat Williams. Mike Epps is completely off the hinges hilarious in this movie, man. Um
I can't decide if I like Mike Epps more in this one or the second one. I love him in Next Friday.
I like him in this one more, man.
I think the thing with and I think I might like him in Next Friday more, and I think the scene that gets me is when he's talking about the girl with the snacks, and he's doing the breathing
Baby
and
D.
baby. Oh, dude,
She's
that
got
scene,
all the bootlegs, all the thousand snacks.
and he's like, as he's imitating the way she breathes. It is to me that scene just kills me, and I think that's what puts it over the top for me. But yeah, I agree. This is a great movie. It's so much fun, and and be, I mean, it's got a great Christmas song that goes along with it. With "It's the Holidays" by West Side Connection. It's yeah, it's a great movie. And now
Yeah.
you say Cat Williams. My performance or my favorite person to watch in this movie is Terry Crews.
Terry Crews is good. I
But I mean,
mean,
I just like Terry Crews to be honest. Like,
yeah, he was good. I just think the other two completely, because I'm sorry, Terry Crews is still kind of new at the time. He was still a newer actor. I think
yeah,
it
that's
was
true.
he just came fresh out of White Chicks and then went right to this movie.
Yeah, they were both very small kind of bit roles. He hadn't done the Brooklyn Nine-Nine where he's on screen all the time and he's a well-known face. He was just kind of a little spot acting.
Yeah, so he didn't have as much time to shine as the other two. But yeah, his character I did enjoy. Um, but not as much as Cat Williams. Cat Williams was such a good pimp. I think he's still in that character.
I think he just
I don't
played
think he's
himself.
out of that character. I think he played the character so well that he has become that character.
I like when he has like his little embellishments, like almost like a little giggle, like after he would say something, and he's like,
Cuz
I don't.
that's how cuz he has studied pimps, man. And if you study a lot of the pimps in those world cities like, like the Californias and like the Atlantas and places where the pimp culture is heavily respected and it's big.
Yeah, because
Uh,
wasn't isn't his store called
they
like?
a lot of them do have those afflictions.
Because isn't his store at the mini mart or
Yeah,
strip mall called Pimps and Hoes or something like that?
I forget what it was called, but it was probably something like that.
Yeah, it's a hysterical movie, start to finish. Um, I I agree with you. I would highly recommend it to everybody if you haven't seen it, and if you have seen it, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, this movie is definitely more for an adult audience, but
100%.
uh yeah, man. It's worth a watch if you enjoy a good Christmas comedy.
Yeah,
Heavy on the comedy, light
yeah.
on the Christmas.
It's not exactly a movie that's going to
It's
tug at
light on
your
the Christmas,
heartstrings or
but
anything like
it's
that.
oh no, no. No, this is a hood Christmas classic. For sure, man.
Yeah.
But yeah. I highly recommend it if you have not watched this.
Yeah, it's funny. It's something that I kind of had forgotten about for a while, and then last year you and I had kind of talked about it, and I went home and I watched it, and I was like, yeah, fuck, dude, I forgot how good this movie is. Like, it's gonna have like it's now gonna be a Christmas staple for me, fucking moving forward for a long time. So my number three movie is another nostalgic movie. I mean, all these are going to be nostalgic now at this point. I watched this movie a lot growing up, and I'm a fan of the characters in this movie and all the other mediums that they've done. They had the show. They've done all different other types of movies. My number three movie is A Muppet Christmas Carol.
Ooh. See, I was gonna put that as my honorable mention. I probably would have put it in my top 5 if I would have watched it recently. I haven't seen it in quite a while.
Okay, see, I watch this every year. Um, it's it's kind of funny that I when I was looking at my top 5 list, I have two Christmas Carol movies in my top 5. I kind of had to chuckle to myself about that because and they're so different from one another. I mean, obviously Spirited at number 5 is a modern type retelling, whereas this is, I mean, it's the Muppets, but it's based in like the Victorian era or whatever.
It's the
I think
classic stories, but with
exactly. But I mean, and you've also got, I mean, you've got fucking Michael Caine as Ebenezer Scrooge, and he knocks it out of the
Michael
park.
Caine.
Oh yeah,
I thought it was Gonzo.
no, Gonzo is he's Charles Dickens. He does the
God
narration, and
damn.
he does the narration, and Rizzo is just kind of Rizzo the Rat is just kind of with him doing his fucking rat hijinks and getting into mischief. But Gonzo does the narration. No, it's uh it's Michael Caine plays Scrooge, and then um, Kermit the Frog plays Bob Cratchit, and Miss Piggy plays his wife, and
Mm.
yeah, it's a great movie. I mean, the only thing that I will say about this movie is so the three ghosts that they do, the past, present, and yet to come. The Ghost of Christmas Past is a really weird aesthetic that they decided to go with this. And I know in the story that it's supposed to resemble like a child because it's of his past, but the way they do it, it's almost like it's a it's it's a floating body, but then it almost looks like the there's no head. It just almost looks like a face with nothing behind it, and it's kind of floating above the body. It's really eerie to look at, and I'm not a big fan of it. But um, this song does have quite a few songs in it as well. I guess it could kind of be considered somewhat of a musical as well. Um, and one of the things they added in this movie, which I enjoy because I actually really like the song that they do. So in the original Christmas Carol, Scrooge's partner who comes to alert him um, about the ghosts coming is Jacob Marley, where in this one they use Waldorf and Hofstadter. Who, if you know the Muppets, you know who those two are.
Those are my favorite Muppets.
Those are the guys who always do the heckling from the balcony. But those two play Jacob, and I forget the brother. They make him have a brother, and it leads into the two of them when they come and haunt Scrooge. They sing one of my favorite songs of the movie. It's "We're Marley and Marley," and like I say, it's one of my favorite songs, and I like that addition and that change from the original. But it pretty much is loyal to the text written by Charles Dickens, and it's just done with Muppets, and it's so much fun. and I think it's an underrated holiday movie that people just don't. I don't know if they forget about it because it came out such a long time ago and it's not as publicized as something like the Santa Claus or Scrooged or something like that. But I think this is an absolute classic for me. It's a banger, 100%.
I think there's just so many different versions of Scrooge that it just gets lost in the shuffle. There's
Yeah.
so many. My
Oh,
favorite growing up was like the one with Patrick Stewart. Remember that one?
yep.
I think that's the one I
That one,
watched.
that one I haven't seen a ton, but I definitely remember it. You know what? Even I remember. This is probably going back 10, 15 years ago or so. I remember I went up with my parents to spend Christmas with my brother who was living out of town at the time. And when we got up there, my mother had brought Christmas Carol from, I believe it was 1951 with
Oh shit! Was it black and white? The black and white one?
with I believe it's Aleister Crowley is plays Scrooge. And when they first put it on, I said, "Why are we watching this
Oh,
fucking
that one was
movie?" Like,
tight, bro.
well, but at the time, I'm like, I have no interest in this. And by the end of the movie, I went, "That was fantastic!" Like, I was blown away at how much I enjoyed it.
I remember liking it. I don't know if I was younger or older when I was seeing it, but I remember liking it. I remember that that dude, the star, the guy who played Scrooge, was he played it very convincing. Like I think that's part of the reason why he seemed like a motherfucker who is. He seemed like Scrooge, mostly because
Yeah,
I don't think I seen him in anything else, so it was easier for me to believe that this guy is an asshole. So that turnaround really sold it for me.
yeah. But I mean, in the Muppet one, Michael Caine is fantastic, and I mean, this is now again when I was a kid. So when this came out, I don't even, I'm not even 100% sure. I'm gonna actually quickly look it up to see what year it actually did come out. But when it did come out, it came out in '92. So I don't know if I would have seen it when it came out, but I didn't know who Michael Caine was. But now, as an adult, where I've seen him in all these different movies, and I know what a great actor he is, and the range that he has, and what he can do. I love the
Yeah.
fact that he was willing to do a Muppet movie, and he does the character fantastic. He does such justice to what Dickens put on the page, and he just really brings this character to life. And I find it very very enjoyable and extremely entertaining.
Yeah. No, I haven't. Couldn't tell you when's the last time I've actually seen it. I have zero reference to it. But I can believe that Michael Michael Caine, you know, did a good performance. He's
Oh, we should pronounce his name properly as Michael Caine.
right. Nah, yeah, he yeah, I definitely I should put it on my list this year to watch. Only because it's been so long.
Well, it is on Disney Plus. I don't know if it is on Disney Plus everywhere. I know it's on Disney Plus here in Canada. I know that there's a variation of what's available on streaming services depending on what country you're in, but it is on Disney Plus here in Canada. Actually, it should be on Disney Plus in Canada everywhere because I believe it was a Disney produced movie.
Because the Muppets, they
And
probably
now
own.
and now that I think about it, I don't know how despairingly Disney Plus is with their platform. I know Netflix is very dependent on where you live as opposed or as what is available on the streaming service. I know there's a lot of things that are available in the states that are not available here. But
Yeah, streaming license. It's they're nobody understands. You have to be a
no,
lawyer to understand all that bullshit.
no, I don't get it. But either way, yeah, that's where it's available. It's so if you have a Disney Plus subscription, I would highly recommend that you sit down and enjoy this movie this holiday season.
Cool. Don't yell at me. I will.
I'll give you shit if you don't watch it.
I don't know. I gotta get it through one of my favorite renditions of Christmas Carol, which is one of my honorable mentions. Once I watch that one, then I'll get through that one. The Muppet version. I'm gonna do number 2, right?
Yep.
Are we at 2?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're at 2 now. That was my number 3. So we'll be at your number 2.
All right. This one is it's fighting for the top spot, but it took a while for me to actually figure out which one was number 1 between this one and my number 1. I have such a connection with this one as a kid. And it for me it still holds up. It's the second in this franchise, which they should have stopped at 2. And my number 2 is Home Alone 2.
Okay. That's actually one of my that did not make my top 5.
Well, sucks to be you. Home Alone 2 for me, 1, I have it's my favorite Home Alone. I have it
I agree.
above the first one only because I think I seen this one first.
I have Home Alone. I mean they're neither one are on my top 5, but I prefer Home Alone 2 over 1. I find it to be more fun, more enjoyable because there's more locations as opposed to
He's
just in the
exploring New
house.
York and shit. Yeah. He's exploring New York, but not only exploring New York, exploring it in a way every goddamn kid of the '90s wish they could explore New York.
Oh, in a limo?
In a limo, the freaking the ability to go to the toy store, the freaking hotel room that he ends up at, all the snacks and food that he was eating.
The
Yeah,
giant
man,
fucking ice
it's a
cream.
kid's dream. Yeah, definitely as a kid, you were super jealous of Kevin, and you wished you could experience that.
Well, I mean, everybody wished they were Kevin. That's why they sold those. And I remember my brother and I remember had one of these, the Talk Boys, which
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure within days of giving them to us, my parents immediately regretted that decision because we were doing exactly what Kevin does in the movie and just being little bastards with them and recording things and slowing them down and just being obnoxious. And but no, I agree. Home Alone 2 to me is a much more enjoyable film than Home Alone 1.
yeah. I think it just mostly because he's not stuck in the damn house.
Yeah. Also, that family should lose all their children. If you go on vacation 2 years in a row and you lose your child both years, the same child in 2 different ways, you're not fit to have those children. And then they make a
Yeah,
joke about it, which I forgot about that until just a few years ago when they're at like the airport security and they're like, oh, it's becoming a tradition, but we never lose our luggage. And they do like the knock on wood, and I'm like, wait a second, your child is God knows where, and you are laughing and making jokes.
yeah, yeah. Definitely, mostly because it was so close together
Yeah.
between abandonment that yeah, uh, child services should have been called on this family.
Oh, I'm sure they would have been called on the first one, and then the second one happened. It was like, again, yeah, get him out of there.
But I think
We're not even going to go check.
I think they weren't called and police weren't involved because I think the FBI are already involved because I think the father is some type of either drug lord or he's doing insider trading. He's
Yeah,
doing something shady.
how did he buy that fucking house?
I don't know.
Jesus.
How you so rich? How you have that house and you take 12 people to where are they going? Paris?
No, see, that's the thing that I've always heard people say about that movie. The funny thing is, now this is just one of my stupid movie recollection ability is in the first movie, everyone's like, how did he afford that? He doesn't pay for the trip. So if you watch the first movie, they're going to Paris. It's they say that it's his brother who lives in Paris, which I believe is the same brother who has the brownstone in New York that Kevin goes to. He's the one who's flying them all to Paris for the holidays. But I mean, still, how the fuck does his dad make the own that house like that? From the outside, it looks like
Because
it's
the
a
brother that he's talking about, it doesn't exist. He is the brother. It's a twist. Okay.
It shows them in their apartment in the first movie. But either way, yeah. How does he afford that? But the place looks like it has 12 bedrooms, 3 kitchens, 15 bathrooms. Like, it's massive.
Right? It's like a house made for a family of 10. But only Kevin and his mom and dad and Buzz are supposed to live there.
Oh no, he's got more siblings, but still,
But they don't live there though. They
yeah,
weren't
they
living
do.
there with them.
So I think the way it's at the end of the first movie when the family comes home, I think he has like 3 or 4 siblings. I think there's 4 or 5 kids total. The other kids are all like his cousins.
Yeah, he's got like a
But
sister or some shit too.
I think he has 2 sisters and 2
God
brothers.
damn.
But even still, 5 kids and 2 parents. That house could house 25 people there.
The house is insane. Yeah, that house is freaking humongous.
It's obnoxiously large.
Freak. Yeah. So the second one of the things that caused me to make this my number 2 is that it single-handedly, well, the Wet Bandits have never been funnier in this movie, mostly because of the things that happen.
Now they're the sticky bandits.
Yeah, the sticky bandits. The torture that they go through in this one is not only more horrendous when you think about it, but it made for more hilarious moments. One being when he gets electrocuted. Was it Marv? The taller one?
Yeah.
He gets electrocuted
On the sink.
so bad that he turns into a skeleton.
Yeah.
Dude, I think that's probably one of the first scenes I ever watched that made me cry in tears of laughter. I think that is like the first movie that made me cry laughing. Cuz I could still probably watch that and produce as much laughter and tears as I did when I first watched it. It is so funny. The way he's screaming, the fact that he turns into a skeleton, it is so goddamn funny to me, man.
I think the one I like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And also it's just I think it's Marv's performance when he's getting brutally tortured. Because another scene that made me laugh is when he's getting hit with bricks from like the rooftop, which they would have been killed after the first one.
Oh yeah.
But just the way he's reacting is again, it tickled my funny bone to the point of near tears.
The one, yeah, it's with the bricks. It's when he starts doing the high pitch and he's going, Harry.
He can't talk. He can barely talk.
There's that, but the other one I like is when they do the callback to the paint cans from the first movie, and the 2 of them miss, and Joe Pesci's going, "Oh, he got me," and Daniel's saying, "Oh, he nailed me too," and they're like, "All right, let's go up," and he throws the pipe.
Oh my god! Yeah,
and
it
then
goes just a heavy ass pipe at him,
and it knocks them through the hole in the floor to the basement, and then he cuts the pipe and it drops onto them.
Oh my god!
I love that. I don't know if it's because it's a callback to the first one, but I love that scene.
Or the one
that's
where
hilarious.
or the one where he Kevin sends the toolbox down the stairs and they're trying to figure out what the fuck the sound
And it
is.
hits them.
And then as soon as it hits them, he goes, "It sounds like a toolbox
Coming
going
down the
down the
stairs.
stairs." Yeah. Yeah, man. It's the performance of those two actors, man. It's just, especially Marv.
Well, the funny
Just
thing is, I had never seen. So the first movie that was my first introduction to Joe Pesci. Now, obviously, I was a little kid, so I wasn't seeing any of his other things. But then, as I got older and I started seeing other movies that he was in, it made so much more sense why he swore or lack of swearing in these movies like he does. Because if you look at his character in Casino or in Goodfellas or anything like that, you can totally see him having the same types of reactions, except all of the profanities that would be coming out of his mouth. Whereas this movie, it just comes out as fritcha, 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 fritcha. And I think it's hysterical.
yeah, it's
And
like he
and yet
created his
and yeah,
his
Daniel Stern is a great comedic actor. Um, there's this movie. There's the things that he's done. He was great in this. He's great in City Slickers. Another Daniel Stern Rookie of the Year, but a Daniel Stern one that I don't know how many people have actually seen it is Bushwhacked. I would highly recommend. It's those two guys are just so good, and yeah, this movie is so much better than the first one. And if you don't like that, come at me. I mean I'm right there with you. I prefer this one hands down.
Yeah, it's one of the few sequels that takes the concepts of the first one, cranks it up, and it's actually better than the first one.
Yeah,
It's rare, but this is one of the exceptions to that rule.
yeah. So for my number two, um, once I say this, I mean I think everybody has seen this movie. It's nostalgia. It's a classic. It's hysterical. And it's Christmas Vacation.
It's what, sorry?
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh, okay.
Now this, I mean, I know that this is a must watch for most people um,
Yeah.
at this
I,
time of year. It's a movie that I've grown up with my whole life. It was big in my house growing up. My parents would watch it every year, which then, of course, transitioned to me watching it. And now that I'm living out on my own, obviously, as an adult, I watch it every year. I mean, there are many years where I watch it more than once because I'm one of those people who I will start with decorations and things like that the day after Halloween. I know people find it obnoxious and whatnot, but I'm that type of person, and therefore a lot of these Christmas movies I watch more than once, and this is definitely one of those. The performance that everyone in this movie gives. I mean, you have a young Johnny Galecki, um, who many people, if they don't recognize that name, will know him as Leonard from The Big Bang Theory. There's a young Juliette Lewis, and then of course you have Beverly D'Angelo returning,
even like, yeah.
returning as well as Chevy Chase and the great Randy Quaid as cousin Eddie. Everybody in this movie just knocks it out of the park, and it is just like you said with Friday After Next. It is laughs from start to finish, and it's a great movie.
Yeah. I think if I had a number six, it probably would have went there. Um, it's
I'm surprised you don't
definitely
have this in your top five.
no. That would have been number six. It's just these other ones definitely they pull on my nostalgia a little bit more.
Okay.
I don't. I didn't. I didn't watch Christmas Vacation when I was young, probably when I was more
Teenager.
going into my teenage. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely one of those movies I watch every year. If not, I'll watch it every other year. If I've watched, all the other ones that I just don't get to it. Um, it has so many iconic scenes.
Oh, they're running through my head as we're discussing this.
Yeah, Chevy Chase. It's one of the performances that I do enjoy. I become less of a Chevy Chase fan over the years just because of,
Of him as a
s-
person.
yeah, just him as a person and some of
Yeah.
the stories that you hear about him. But yeah, his performance in this movie is definitely he nailed it. He knocked it out of the park. Most everybody did. I think every single person that was casted definitely played the role very well. It's definitely the more raunchy comedy, even though it's a Christmas movie. It's still an 80s comedy, and they were still a little bit more raw than
Well,
the current comedy Christmas movies, which I appreciate.
you want to talk raunchy in this movie? If you've never noticed it, in the scene where the SWAT team breaks into the house and holds them basically all at gunpoint, if you if you look at it, and I'm sure people have noticed it because they kind of make a point of it, but if you haven't noticed it, when next time you watch this movie, watch this scene. When they freeze, Ellen's hand is on fucking Clark's dick. And
Hmm.
she lets go to shake the hand of his boss or his boss's wife, whoever it is, and then promptly places it back where she had it.
I have to rewatch it.
It's something I noticed years ago, and every time I can't help but laugh because I don't know if that was planned or if that was something that, I mean, fuck, for all I know, with some of the stories that have come out about Chevy Chase, for all I know, that was something that he told her to do. It wouldn't really shock me, but
It's a National Lampoon movie, so I'm gonna assume that that was
I,
intentional.
yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either. It's one of those things that's always stuck out, and every time I see it, I laugh so hard because you even see like when she puts her hand back, you can see Chevy Chase kind of flinch for a second,
Hmm.
but no,
Yeah, I have to.
this whole movie is great, and he's so good in it. I mean, from the part in the office with the Merry Christmas, kiss my ass, kiss your ass, kiss his ass, Happy Hanukkah. That whole thing is great. Of course, his speech where he's ranting and yelling and swearing and all that is so good. And there's so many different iconic things. I mean, now you can see them. I don't know if they sell them in stores or just online, but you can get like the Wally, the Moose, um, cups that they drink the eggnog out of on Christmas Eve. You can buy
Oh,
like a 4 pack of those. I've thought about it many times. Um, yeah, there's the Christmas tree, the stringing up the lights, like everything about this movie that is just so enjoyable and so much fun to watch, and a lot of it is brought together by Chevy Chase and his performance, and then of course you get Randy Quaid and as another performance of as cousin Eddie. And the funniest thing with him is he has so many good parts in this movie, but the one that everybody remembers of him for this movie seems to be when he's emptying the septic tank from the RV, and the shitter was full with a cigar and a beer at 9 o'clock in the morning, wearing a bathrobe on the street.
Yeah, that's if you were to tell somebody to name a scene, that's definitely one that they will mention.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think one of my favorite parts with Randy Quaid is when they're in the grocery store and he's putting all the bags of dog food in the cart, and Chevy Chase grabs a light bulb and puts it on top, and without even missing a beat, Randy Quaid grabs another bag of dog food and slams it on top of the light bulb, and you can hear it break.
Mhm.
It's just a lot of like he's so good at playing that aloof um, kind of idiot in these movies and the whole series of the vacation movies. But I think this is my favorite performance of Cousin Eddie, and it might be my favorite performance of Clark, of Chevy Chase, is Christmas Vacation. As much as I like Vacation and I even enjoy the Vegas Vacation, I think this is my favorite portrayal of him that Chevy Chase does. And yeah, it's such a great movie. I love it. I watch it every year, and I know they remade the original Vacation. If they ever remake Christmas Vacation, I will be furious, because this is one of those movies that I don't think ever should or needs to be remade. So I really hope that never happens.
Nah, I don't think they will. I don't think they will. But yeah, this is definitely one of those '80s classics. Yeah, it's definitely things that they couldn't get away with now. Um, this the scene that first pops in my head when I think about this movie is when they're going, I guess, was it tobogganing or sledding or whatever,
Yep.
and he saw that Crisco or whatever the fuck on his
Oh yeah,
sled.
the oil spray,
The
cooking
shit
spray.
shoots off like a fucking rocket.
You know how many kids probably tried to put fucking cooking spray on the bottoms of
So
their
ridiculous.
toboggans?
It was such a random ass scene, so ridiculous.
Yeah, and he takes off
Uh,
like a fucking bullet out of a gun.
yeah, it was so ridiculous that I appreciated it, man. Yeah, this is an iconic Christmas movie, and it'll stand the test of time. This will always be watched during the holiday season by many families, and that's gonna remain the case for quite a long time.
Yeah. All right. So, what would you have? What do you have as your number one?
A Christmas Story.
That's my number one too.
Fucking love that movie, bro. How can you not mention A Christmas Story in a list of top Christmas movies? It has to be on the list, whether it's number one or even number five.
Yeah.
It is the ultimate nostalgia movie if you were a 80s 90s kid growing up.
It's I don't know what it is about this movie. It is the quintessential Christmas movie for me. And I I don't think I don't know if I ever want to watch the second one that they made, because I don't want it to sully this movie.
Well, I mean, they made a second one with when they were kids, and was it in the summer? I think it's called A
I
Summer Story or something. That is actually not too bad.
I
That is
don't,
not
I
for a
don't know
sequel,
that
in my
one.
opinion. No, yeah, it's the same. It's not the same. It's the same characters, but not the same actors. And
Okay.
he's in the summer. I guess that summer, everyone is doing like like kind of like Beyblades, but back in the 50s, like those tops.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the whole movie is centered around that. It's not too bad.
No,
And
I didn't even know that existed. And if I
yeah,
did, I completely forgot about it.
I think it's called A Summer Story. And but that's not what you were talking about. They made another Christmas movie like I think last year where it was all the characters grown up. I heard
Yeah, it
it's
was either
not
last year or the year
terrible.
before.
I heard it's actually not bad. Like it's
Really.
not bad at all.
I don't know. My biggest worry is whenever they do this where they make a sequel 20, 30 years later, it just, I don't know. It never seems to measure up to what they're aiming for or what they're hoping it does. So, and I like I say, I don't want it to spoil my love and opinion of this movie. So I don't know. I mean, maybe one day I'll watch it.
I don't think it will.
As of right now,
No,
I'm not sure.
it won't ruin how you think of the first one. It'll just make you want to go back and watch the original just because they got all the original
Yeah,
people that are still alive.
yeah. Well, I mean, and then if you like, you think about it, the guy who plays Ralphie is Peter Billingsley, who he's gone on to have a pretty decent career. He's good buddies with Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau, so you see him in pretty much all of their movies. Like,
Yeah, he's a movie producer. His name is attached to the first Iron Man movie.
dude, he's in the MCU. He's in Iron Man.
Yeah, he helped
He,
produce that movie.
I know
So
he's in Iron
yeah,
Man. He's also in Far from Spider-Man Far From Home. He's one of the guys. He's one of Mysterio's cronies, I guess, who used to work for Stark.
mhm. Yeah, he's also in another classic Christmas movie that is probably going to be in at least one of our honorable mentions, if not both.
Was
He was an Elf.
Oh my God, you're right. He was.
Hmm.
He plays the yeah he plays like the guy who's keeping track of what they're doing. That's oh my God.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, this. I mean, there's so many things from this movie. I mean, I even have I have a little nightlight, plug-in nightlight of the leg lamp. I have a set of Christmas ornaments that go on my tree every year. There's 5 of them, and they're things from A Christmas Story. There's like the house, I think there's the house, the fragile box, the Easter bunny costume, and then there's 2 more that I can't remember off the top of my head. But every year those have to go on my tree, or it's not Christmas. Because I mean, there's so many iconic scenes from this movie. The one that always comes to mind is because it's always the one that my dad has always referenced when I was growing up is the pole, the I triple dog dare ya.
Yeah, and it's I think what is so great about this movie is that I think they nailed the relatability of almost every aspect of this movie. Like you totally as a kid relate to the kids in this movie. We've
Yeah.
all done something stupid or at least been a part of somebody doing something stupid because of a dare.
Oh yeah.
We've all had that one thing that's the only thing we wanted for Christmas, and we would put little hints to our parents that we wanted it, just like Ralphie.
Yep.
It's relatable, and if like when I was a kid, I related to Ralphie, but as you're an adult, you relate to the parents and like their relationship and
Yeah.
how the dad reacts to certain things. Like I didn't understand the whole flipping out over a busted radiator until, you have to deal with similar things as an adult.
Yeah. I liked the and I mean even though it's set in like the 50s or 60s whatever it is, and he's doing like the radio program with the little orphan Annie and the decoder ring that he has, and we didn't do that cuz obviously we had like television and that, but there were still things that we did while watching TV, and that like, or you'd read a comic book or something like that, and or a Nintendo Power magazine, and it had like contests in it that you had to fill out, and you'd mail off and you'd get back whatever it is for that contest, and you got all excited for, just like he does when he does the Annie program. And um the other one I really like is when he's helping his dad change the tire, and he does the "oh fudge, but I didn't say fudge." Well, we've all had, I mean, I don't know a kid who at what, 12 years old, whatever he is, who hasn't accidentally swore in front of their parents, and there's that immediate realization of what did I just do?
Well, yeah, and yeah, that scene, the whole fact that Ralphie, you could tell he wanted to help, but he was nervous as fuck, as
Because
we
he didn't
all
want
would
to,
be if we helped our dad do something like that
especially the
fix
first, because that's
something.
the first
We'd
time
be
he got some
nervous
help.
and scared, but eager to help at the same time.
Yeah, because that's the first time his dad is letting him help, and he's so terrified of doing something wrong that he drops one little. I think he drops the lug nut or whatever, and it's, oh fuck, oh. And what I love about it is it's that they get that reaction so right, because they show that split second where both he and his dad realize what he said before his dad starts to kind of flip out. Like, because anyone who's been in that situation, it's not the minute you say it and then all of a sudden your mother or father or whatever just loses it on you. There's that realization of, you realize that you just said something you shouldn't have, and then they realize that you did as well, and it's kind of like, oh no, what's coming next? And I really
Yeah,
like the way that they frame that scene.
yeah. It's again, it shows how they nailed the relatability in the movie, man.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
the
there's so
whole
many.
movie is like that.
Yeah,
I
which is
mean, even
why.
getting the I've never received anything like this, but we all have that one family member who will buy, like, whether it be clothes or those gifts that you dread opening every year, and he gets the Easter bunny or the bunny costume, whatever. I always call it Easter bunny because when he comes down the stairs and his dad says he looks like a demented Easter bunny.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the fragile, oh, it must be Italian. Like, just, it's infinitely quotable. And everyone knows what you're talking about.
hmm yeah. I can't go through a Christmas season without watching this at least once.
No, not at all. I remember when I still lived at home with my parents, and they would have like TBS, and then they would do on Christmas Day the 24 hours straight of A Christmas Story, just on repeat, basically.
hmm
There were times not that we would sit down and watch the movie, but like it would be on in the background. So there were times where, like, I probably watched A Christmas Story 4 times in one day on Christmas Day, just because we had it on the TV, and it's always been a part of my Christmas, and I'm gonna make sure that it is for a long time to come. I mean, I have it on Blu-ray. I have all, like I said, I have all my little paraphernalia every time the Christmas season comes. I put those out, and I don't have a full size leg lamp though. I would love to get one of those one day, but even as obnoxious as that would look, just to say that I have that would be kind of fun.
Yeah, no, definitely something I wanted growing up. I don't know how I feel about it now, but yeah, that that lake lamp is
I would still get it.
such an iconic. Yeah, yeah, for nostalgia's sake, I definitely put that motherfucker in front of a window for all to see.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's kind of funny that we ended up with two movies the same and pretty much and actually in the same spots as well.
That's weird.
Um, so yeah, that wraps up those lists. If you want to get into our honorable mentions, like I said, I've got a ton of them here. I won't read all of them, but
Let's do maybe like 4 or 5 of
yeah,
them.
that works.
'Cause I got like 6. Okay, let's see. Go down here with this. Well, one of my honorable mentions is Christmas Vacation, so I'm not gonna mention that. This is a non-traditional one, but it was set during Christmas. I have Batman Returns,
Hell yeah, hell yes.
because that movie is so fucking batshit crazy. Tim Burton, you are such a dark, demented genius of a man. Never
Yep,
stop doing what you're doing. Because Batman Returns, to me, is freaking a classic.
yeah,
Such a classic movie, man.
yep. That was definitely on mine. Another one on yeah, that was on my honorable mentions. I should say another one of mine. Again, this is non traditional, non conventional, and I'm sure people are gonna. Oh, it's not a Christmas movie.
It's the ultimate non-traditionals, the one that has started the argument
Hey,
for
you
the
know
last
what? And I and
years.
I and I have an argument why it is a Christmas movie, to me at least, and that is, of course, Die Hard.
Yeah, well,
And it's
for years I did not put it in the Christmas list of movies, but I've since split that into traditional and non-traditional. This one goes into non-traditional,
hey,
just so I can stop arguing with motherfucking people about this movie. I'm tired of it. You
yippee
guys win, all right?
yippee
You
ki yay,
win. This
motherfucker!
fucking thing is a Christmas movie, but it's a non-traditional one. So whatever.
No, yippee ki yay, motherfucker! No, I put it as a Christmas movie because it takes place at Christmas. Um, and every time, like, it's funny because people always argue that it's not a Christmas movie, and every time I hear that, I go, yeah, but you know what? In that same viewpoint, neither is Home Alone, because Home Alone is just Die Hard with a kid, except instead of terrorists, it's burglars, and he's defending his house as opposed to trying to take out the burglars and save his wife and to get home to his kids. That's the way I've always looked at this movie. So if you're saying Home Alone is a Christmas movie, then you better fucking believe that Die Hard taking place on Christmas Eve at a Christmas party, it's a Christmas movie. But
Yeah.
and I've said for many years, it's not Christmas. It's not Christmas until I see Hans Gruber fall off of Nakatomi Towers.
That reaction was a real reaction.
Yep, it was fantastic. They said they're gonna drop him on 3, dropped him on 2.
R.I.P. Alan Rickman, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. One of the greats. One of the fucking greats in Alan Rickman.
One of the most, I'd say, top 5 iconic movie bad guys.
Yeah. That and then you have Snape, like he just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll keep rolling on with these honorable mentions here.
So when I bring up as my favorite, I guess, A Christmas Carol inspired movie, it takes the concept much like Spirited and turns it on its head. Uh, Scrooged.
Yep. You know what's funny is that movie. I haven't seen that movie in I don't even know how many years. I watched it when I was a kid. I think I've seen it 2 or 3 times since, but it's been years. And every year I'm like, I need to watch Scrooged. And then by the time I remember again, it's fucking New Year's Eve.
It's such a good movie, man, and it's carried by the performance of Bill Murray.
Well, and you can't go wrong with Bill Murray, especially not
Yeah,
at that time.
especially, yeah, he was untouchable during that stretch of the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is one of his iconic roles to me, even though it doesn't get as much shine as his other ones. Um, yeah, it's a take on Christmas Carol, just more modernized, and um, it works, man. The comedy is very, very in that realm of 80s, uh, unhinged type of comedy. Um, the the people who play the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future um, aren't traditional, but they are memorable.
Yeah.
Um, and I just enjoy it because it has a lot of heart to it as well, especially when it's needed, especially the parts that are calls upon you to pull your heartstrings. It definitely does so, and you do feel like Bill Murray has gone through this character development from being an asshole to a very, at least a more caring individual.
Yeah.
I like it, man.
No, it's a good movie. Like I say, every year. I think this year I'm actually gonna sit down and watch it again. Like I say, I do it every year, and I'm hoping I can stick to it this year. Uh, Another one of my um, honorable mentions, and I have a gut feeling it's going to be on yours too, because you and I have talked about this movie before, and it's Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, that was my last one that I was gonna mention, or
Yeah,
probably the second last. Yeah, Jingle All the Way is freaking.
it's Arnold being Arnold in a comedy,
Arnold being
a Christmas
Arnold,
comedy.
Sin, and also Sinbad being Sinbad at that height of his Sinbad powers. Um, that duo that I didn't think I needed, but I glad that we had.
And then
And also, yeah, the one of the greatest comedic actors that tragically was gone too soon is the late great Phil Hartman.
Troy McClure himself.
Those three performances is what make this movie what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I absolutely love it.
this was before Jake Lloyd was run out of Hollywood by ridiculous fans.
Mostly his classmates. If you
Yeah,
hear
they
those
really
stories,
gave him shit, which is, I mean, that's I hate that, especially that he was such a young kid, and but oh yeah, you ruined Star Wars. He didn't ruin Star Wars. You want to take that up with someone? Fucking George Lucas ruined Star
yeah,
Wars,
he didn't cast himself as the role of
or write the script, or any of that. But
right.
anyways, no, Jingle All the Way is another one. It's a fucking batshit crazy premise, and the way they end the movie with a real life Iron Man suit with no training in a public place. But it's just another fun movie. And I mean, I love watching Arnold. I love his action movies, but his comedies I almost enjoy more. Like
Yeah,
this and Kindergarten Cop.
yeah, this era of Arnold where he's doing more of, I guess, a little less action and more of like the family type funny movies. I I liked them,
Well, yeah, I mean, like I
especially
say,
this
the comedy like this and Kindergarten Cop, and then you've got
Junior or
Junior and
Twins.
Twins.
I love Twins.
Twins is great. I heard they're making a third one called Triplets with Eddie Murphy. I
Nah,
don't
well,
know how that's gonna work. I don't even know I don't know if that's still on the table or if it's been
probably
scrapped,
not.
but
Oh,
I don't know how that would even work. But I mean, they made him pregnant in a movie as well, so
oh,
I'm sure they'll
jeez.
figure it out.
Yeah.
But no, it's just that's another great movie, and I mean, there's so many of them to choose, and I mean, I'm sure that we've missed a whole bunch of
There's
of
one that
great
we
movies
have to
out
talk
there.
about. I think there's only one more to mention that I think deserves to be mentioned. It's up there with all the other great classic movies. It's one of the movies that, even though it's not a movie that I feel like I have to watch every year, it's a movie that I'm forced to watch every year just because it's going to be on someone's TV somewhere where I am during the Christmas, and that's Elf.
Elf. Yeah.
Elf, it's like,
Elf is great. Um, but it
yeah.
might, I don't know. I love Elf, but at the same time, I, I'm I'm kind of out on it at the same time.
Um, really?
Well, I don't get me wrong.
Seen
I
it too
love
many times.
I and that's what it is right there. And I think a lot of it is because now again, I know people are probably going to listen to this and be like, "What are you talking about? You say that you've seen Muppet Christmas Carol and Christmas Vacation and all these movies hundreds of times." Yeah, but a lot of the draw with those is they're nostalgic from when I was a kid too. Whereas when Elf came out, I enjoyed it, but it's to me it's more of a comedy than it is. I mean, you don't really talk much about Christmas until the last 20 minutes of the movie. In reality, it's more him learning how to kind of exist in this world where he's not an, or he doesn't think he's an elf, and trying to go on dates with Zoe Deschanel and things like that. So I don't know. I just don't get me wrong. Like I say, I like the movie, but it's one of those now that whereas a lot of these that we're discussing, I can watch anytime during the Christmas season. That one I really kind of have to be in the mood to put it on.
Yeah. I only mention it because, you know, for most people, it's a movie that they have to watch. You always, people, it's one that you probably hear quoted a little bit more than the other movies on our list that are Christmas classics
I mean, I even quote it
for
too,
whatever
so
reason.
you're not wrong at all.
But I enjoy it. It's not, I haven't seen it too much where I despise watching it, but it's getting there
I don't
for
think I'll
me.
ever despise it.
Not despise it, but just like
I
not
kind
even
of
be interested as it when it's on. Like I won't even pay attention just because
yeah
I know every beat of the movie.
yeah,
As
and I
opposed to other movies, I know the beats, but I still want to be engaged in it.
yeah. I mean myself, I think my favorite part of Elf isn't even Will Ferrell. It's James Caan.
For me, it's when it's all the scenes where he's in the Christmas land. My favorite character is the whale.
Oh, the
Yeah.
narwhal thing.
Goodbye, buddy.
Hope you
Hope you
find your
find your
dad.
dad. Yeah. And then the whole fish out of water thing, done a million times, but it's you know, Will's Ferrell's comedic swag to it. I enjoyed those parts. But it's not a movie that I feel like I have to watch every year, but it's one that I'm going to end up watching for because, my girlfriend really likes it and the rest of the population really seems to enjoy this movie a lot more than others for some reason.
Yeah, no,
Maybe just 'cause it's newer.
I absolutely agree. It's one that that's watched every year, whether you kind of want to or not.
Yeah, you gonna watch this Elf?
Yeah, I mean, it's my wife's favorite Christmas movie, so every year it's going to get watched. Like I say, regardless whether I want to or not. Um, but yeah, it's like I say, my favorite part of it is James Caan, especially like I'm such a fan of like a movie with him, like his performance in The Godfather, and then you put this on, and it's just so, it's different, but at the same time, you can still see those little bits of like Sonny in James Caan's performance. Like, I don't know, like there are certain scenes in this where he just seems like ruthless, and in that same type of thought process that character would have had, type thing from the Godfather, which I kind of find really amusing.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like
Especially when he's taking the books away from the nun.
Yeah. And also, this is the movie that introduced at least me and the rest of the world to one of the greatest, I think, one of the greatest actors besides James Caan is Peter Dinklage.
Oh, he's an angry elf.
Dude, if Peter Dinklage was average size, he'd have every acting accolade imaginable. He is a beast.
Oh, I love Peter Dinklage, and I know for a fact right now that at least one of our listeners is going to be rolling his eyes right now, and I will tell you who that is once we end this recording. But this goes out to you, buddy.
Yeah, no, that whole scene of him being upset, being called Elf is
I
definitely
mean, I can't say I blame him. I probably would be just as furious as he is.
true.
But
The fact that he was ready to throw hands to somebody who's
he did
taller
throw
than
hands. He fucking drop kicked him.
right, somebody who's like 4 feet taller than him.
And I love that as soon as he says it, he just goes, when he calls him that, he goes, "I get more action in a week than you have in like your whole life," or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. She's not lying. Not lying.
Nope. So I think that's gonna wrap it up for this episode. Like I say, if you guys have any other movies that we didn't mention or that you think we should
Like
watch,
or what are some of your favorite? What's your top 5 favorite Christmas movies?
yeah, we'd love to know. And let us know. You follow us. You let us know through Twitter at geeked_podcast with a capital G. You can follow us on Instagram at geekedoutpod. We now have a YouTube page up and running. It's just basically going to be the audio versions of the podcast, and then maybe down the road we might delve into doing video recordings of us doing this or things like that. And that is Geeked Out Podcast on YouTube. Or you can email us at geekedoutpod@gmail.com. So yeah, like we say, if you guys have any others, or if you want to let us know if we missed one, or what you think of our list, or what what Juan says, what your top 5 are, we'd be really interested to see how our lists may be similar or different from yours. So that's going to end it for another episode of Geeked Out, and thank you guys. Thanks for listening, and thanks for subscribing. You take it easy.
Peace.